Drop.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. For anybody new here, thanks for stopping by. My name is Javi, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Miyoo A30. This is a brand new, very hot, very hard to get your hands on horizontal Miyoo Mini, my very first one. I think this is a product that a lot of people have been waiting for. A lot of people said they love the Miyoo Mini, but they wanted it in a kind of horizontal form factor, and here it is. Miyoo has delivered. So yeah, I've had this thing for like a little over 24 hours, and in this video, I just want to go over everything I've found so far in my first 24 hours looking at this device, and maybe confirming some of the things that you've seen in some of the earlier reviews, right? I think it's important to get a second opinion on some of these things and just not just go by what one review says. And yeah, that's what we're gonna go over today. You know, I'm gonna talk about the screen quality, you know, the controls, how I feel about it, the size, everything like that. Without further ado, let's get right into it. I want to talk about first the case this comes in. So this thing comes in just like this. And this beautiful case is branded, says Miyoo A30 with this nice little logo on it. It feels really nice. And when you open it up, get a little user manual in here. You got a charging cable. Looks like this. You get a USB-C to 3.5mm headphone jack dongle, because this thing does not have a headphone jack, for anybody wondering. So yeah, you'll have to use this, but at least it's included in the packaging. This was me. I actually swapped out the SD card already. This is the SD card it comes with. As you can see, this is a piece of crap SD card as usual, and it's loaded with a bunch of horrible ROMs that all have numbers and stuff. So this is going to the trash. But the case is absolutely nice. Here's the bottom of the case for anybody wondering. And this is how it fits. Like perfect. Absolutely love this. I feel like this adds a lot of value, and it's something that I really wish they did the same thing with the Miyoo Mini Plus. Like, you have the Miyoo Mini Plus here and it comes in this stupid box. Like, where's the case that was on the Miyoo Mini, and that was excluded from the Miyoo Mini Plus. So I'm glad Miyoo's doing that again, including a case with your purchase, and just adds value to it. Let's get away from the case for a second. One thing I will note about the charger, I swapped this charger out. The charger it came with, for some reason, would not charge my device, so I swapped it out with like a Powkitty one. Looks about the same, but yeah, the charger it came with, for some reason, would not charge my device. Just wanted to make a quick note, and let's get this thing in hand. So first impressions, I love the size of it. It doesn't feel like you're compromising on like the real estate of the device. Like, the screen is just big enough that it's like okay, and just the form factor of it, and how it kind of feels in your hand. It is relatively light, but it's I feel like it's a great shape. I love the shape of it. As you can see, if you put the white SD card, it kind of sticks out a little bit. It's kind of like annoying to look at, but when you put the black one, it looks fine. So yeah, with the black one, it just like kind of hides. With the white SD card, it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. One thing I will note, I do like that they fixed orientation, so the orientation is correct. So you can see here, look, I have a 128 Samsung in here, and it inserts the correct way, which I absolutely love. I know some of the other reviews were talking about how it kind of feels cheap. I kind of disagree. I don't think it feels cheap. I just think it feels light. It does have like this metal faceplate here. You see this? So if you look at the edge, you can see this is a metal kind of aluminum faceplate. You look really closely, you can see the edges are not finished, but yeah, there's just a few areas like you can see the unfinishedness of it, like right here. So yeah, this is a metal faceplate, so it does feel a little bit different in your hands. It's a little bit colder, and then obviously the body is plastic, but it's not like a bad plastic. It feels good. The whole device itself is really very, very light, and I think that's by design. So yeah, if I get my TrimUI Smart, which I have right here, first of all, look at the size comparison between the two. Right, this one's like a little bit more slim. It's a little longer. Obviously, we have that one joystick, which is nice. Shoulder buttons, side by side, just as big as the TrimUI Smart, but with L2 and R2, which is really nice. You can see this one's a little bit more rounded on the edges. But yeah, like in hand, I would say this one's a little bit heavier than this one between the two. Okay, so I bust out the scale real quick. Let's put it on the scale, see how much grams it is. So this is 113 grams. TrimUI Smart, 97 grams. So as you can see, it's a little bit heavier. One more time. 113 grams. TrimUI Smart, 97 grams. So it's definitely a little bit heavier in the hand. You can definitely tell a little bit more heft to it than the TrimUI Smart. Now I wish I had the 28XX. I do have one coming in the mail, but as of right now, I don't have it to do the comparison. But I do have an original. This is like fresh out the box Miyoo Mini to do a little comparison with. So here's the Miyoo Mini. It's definitely lighter than the Miyoo Mini. 162 grams. Okay, so now let's touch on these controls really quickly. I do want to make note that I love the position of the controls versus something like the TrimUI or even the 28XX. You see how these controls are kind of like centered on the device? Over here, the controls are kind of like moved up and they kind of feel more natural how you're going to hold the device, which I really like, and I feel like this is the correct way to do it, especially now that we have a joystick here. Very nice. Comparing the D-pad to the Miyoo Mini D-pad, I think there's a subtle difference between the two. But for me playing this D-pad, I haven't had a single problem with it. I just feel like they used a different kind of plastic here. So as you can see, this is like a little bit more of a kind of a different plastic than they used on this. And same thing with the face buttons. You see they have the glossy face buttons. These definitely feel different than these like matte face buttons. But I have no problem with them. They're just not as like, these don't feel as nice as these because obviously these are glossy, right? So yeah, let's get this thing turned on so we can do a little D-pad test really quickly. So I have like this white theme going. It's like the default theme, but it's like the light version. I actually quite like it. So yeah, let's go to game. Okay guys, so here I am in Pokemon Red. This is the D-pad test I like to test. So basically what I try to do is I'll go down and I'll rock back and forth on the D-pad to see if the character will move in the direction he's not supposed to. So look, I'm trying to go up. This is a solid D-pad. Look at this. It's not going anywhere. Same thing on the right. It's a little bit harder to do like this, but I'm not getting any false diagonals. Okay, right there. That was one time. A little bit too hard, but yeah, for the most part, he's going the direction he's supposed to. Yep, this is a solid D-pad. I have no problem with this D-pad. Like if I was using a Pow Kitty D-pad, this character would be all the way to the right or all the way to the left when I'm trying to go up and down. So this Miyoo D-pad is pretty solid. It just feels a little bit different, but it's still a really good D-pad. And yeah, check this out. Oh yeah, it's like a party. So yeah, while we're here, let me give you a quick tour of the device. I kind of forgot to do that. So yeah, you got a D-pad here, you got a little joystick here. It's recessed. You do have L3 and R3 functionality. You have a 2.8 inch display. Really nice thing about it is recessed, which I absolutely love. This is great for like just putting in your pocket. Same thing on the TrimUI Smart. It's a detail I like about when you want a really pocket-friendly device, like something like this. You got your ABXY, it's in a Nintendo configuration. Obviously A and B, your main primary buttons are red with black X and Y buttons. And then you got your select and your start. This is something a little bit weird. I'm always used to the start button being up top, but for whatever reason, they put the select up top this time. And then right over here, we just have a mono speaker. Can't see the holes that well, but it gets fairly loud. Now over on the bottom, we just have that 1 TF micro SD card. As you guys know, Miyoo devices usually have a little bit of internal storage. Up on top, L2, you got a home button, which is like your menu button. You get your charging port slash USB-C like headphone jack. You get your volume rocker, R2 and R, okay? Over on the right side, you have your home button, and then you have your power or working light and your charging light right here. Okay, over on the left side, we have nothing. And then over on the back, charging stuff and just like a few screws, not really anything. So yeah, so that's the whole device real quick. One thing I have noticed is that it takes like 5 seconds to power on. Like when you hold the power, you have to hold it for like 5 seconds to turn it on, which is kind of weird. That I've never really seen on other devices. So let me show you the theme this comes with by default. So one issue a lot of people are talking about was the brightness of the screen, and they're saying that the screen is very dim. So I mean, look, this is max brightness. Let me show you the theme it comes with by default. So yeah, the screen's gonna look much darker with a dark theme, but it looks pretty good. I personally like the white version. There's also something kind of funny in here. So I feel like Miyoo is definitely trolling with their marketing, because they marketed it like this with this Onion OS theme, but it's not actually Onion. Like as you can see here, there's no actual Onion here, but whatever. So yeah, for anybody wondering, this theme is called Frontier. If you like this theme, you'll find it on your SD card. So really quick, I did want to show you what this thing actually looks like. So, and like here's your recents, you have your favorites in here, you have your game, which is where you'll pick all your game, your system, and your games. You have RetroArch. You have an apps, which only has 2 things, and then you have settings, which is like for your normal Miyoo stuff. I'll show you real quick. I did up the saturation on the screen because I like my screens to be a little bit more saturated. Other than that, I haven't really messed with anything else in here. As you can see, my frequency is at default. Also, another nice thing to have is a hardware test. I've tested this thing, looks really nice. Pretty clean hardware tester. So it says, so let me show you what the app drawer actually looks like. There's a couple weird things in here. For example, in Game Boy, for some reason they group Game Boy and Game Boy Color into the same library. This is how it was in the stock SD card. I've done the same thing because I just copied over what they had. But yeah, this is basically how it looks. Like you have a Game Boy Color folder inside the Game Boy. Like I understand it uses GAM Battle, I believe, for the core, so it plays both, but at the same time it's just weird that they do that and doesn't have like a separate folder for Game Boy Color. And then Game Boy Advance, I just want to show you this real quick. I did add some box art so you guys can see what that looks like. It is possible to add box art to the main SD card. You can also tap to the right and you'll see the box art like this. It looks pretty decent. I'm not crazy about it cutting off the text though. That's why I haven't done it for everything. So like this is like Alien Hominid and stuff. Yeah, I just did it for like a few games, kind of testing. But yeah, it is possible on the stock to add box art, which is pretty cool. And yeah, let's go into some performance testing real quick. Let's start with SNES. I hear there's some people talking about how this thing can't play SNES at full speed without overclocking, which is completely wrong. Okay, so we got our FPS counter here. Yoshi's Island title screen. One thing I did notice is that by default there will be a shader and a video filter enabled on basically all the systems. So if you press pause and you go into the native menu, you're gonna have to delete the override that's in here. Right now I've turned it off, and then there's a shader applied. You have to turn off that shader and then go back and go into settings and video, and then you want to turn off this video filter right here as well. So all these things kind of affect performance, and I think a lot of people aren't realizing that, and that's what's causing issues for them with Yoshi's Island. I might have a save file for this actually. See, I was playing for a little bit and it was working pretty fine. Oh. But yeah, guys, I would say it passes the Yoshi's Island test. So we know it can play SNES pretty well. Let's do some PlayStation 1. Here I have Bloody Roar 2. This is like one of the most demanding PS1 games. So yeah, just pay attention to this FPS counter right here. You can even hear it in the audio as well, the crackling. So yeah, as you can see, it's not running at full speed. It's at 51 FPS right now. Dips down every so often. There's even audio crackling. And I'm just gonna show you real quick what this is running at. So yeah, there's no shader on. There's no video filter or anything on. This is basically the same default. How it would come out the box. No overclock on this. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end it there. But as you can see, the most demanding PS1 games are not going to run at full speed as of right now. It's at 51. It's around 50 FPS. So yeah, it is playable, but it's definitely not full speed for PS1. So I think that we're gonna have to wait for Onion or something to kind of optimize this thing, or maybe for Miyoo to update the firmware to get better performance out of PS1, because PS1 right now, most demanding games are gonna be at like 50 FPS. So just for fun, let's try Gran Turismo 2 arcade mode. So by default, for some reason, the joystick is not working. So we'll have to fix that, but it's like hovering around like 56 FPS. So really quick, I'm gonna do a quick screen comparison between the two. So here I have the TrimUI Smart at peak brightness. You see 10 of 10, Miyoo 830 peak brightness. I'll let that speak for itself, but let's go into a game. I think it's yes, the screen is dim, but it is adequate for like in. So yeah, cool thing about this, you can press this button right here and you can actually search. So let's say I'm looking for, and there you go. Shows me all the Marios. And the corresponding systems. Okay, so here's a side-by-side of Super Mario World at peak brightness between both devices. So yeah, for anybody wondering, yes, the screen is a bit more dim than on other devices, for sure. I know there's gonna be people who want to see Dreamcast on this thing. So here we have Dreamcast. So I do want to show you one thing really quickly. So as you can see, this is at half resolution. This isn't even native. This is half resolution, just so you can see. And there's no shaders or anything enabled right now. You can see here, video, no video filter enabled or anything like that. So like crazy artifacting in the back. This is crazy. I believe that is part of the glitches you get from downscaling, but I would say it's playable. I mean, it's definitely not full speed though. I'm gonna actually turn off the volume on this thing because it is copyright music and I don't want to get copy strike. But yeah, it's definitely not at full speed here. Even with my horrible driving. See, we're getting like 24 FPS. And I mean, it's still somewhat playable, but still, it's at half resolution and it can't even do that. I think that kind of speaks for itself. I think the Onion team's gonna have to do some heavy optimization to get this up to where it's supposed to be. Dreamcast right now is it's very okay. All your lower systems are gonna play well though. I mean, like Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. Those systems play fine. Let me actually show a Game Boy Advance game really quickly. I mean, anybody picking this up for like, you know, another Pokemon machine, how many people turned the Miyoo Mini Plus into a Pokemon machine, you're not going to be disappointed. I think this is perfectly fine for something like that, you know, just like playing ROM hacks and stuff. Definitely going to be great on this device. So yeah, I just want to sum things up here and just talk about basically my experience so far. I can say that the battery life is actually pretty good. I don't know, there's some people saying the battery life is kind of jank. The battery life is pretty good. I like the controls a lot. I love that we have these big kind of usable shoulder buttons, unlike the RG28XX with those tiny shoulder buttons that are kind of clicky and weird. These you have like full size ones just like on the TrimUI Smart. Of course the screen is definitely not as bright as we'd all hoped. Build quality I think is great. I don't think it's bad whatsoever. I love the size of it. It has a good weight to it. And some people are saying also that it does get warm. I feel like if you're playing a more intensive game, of course it's going to be a little bit warm. That's just like, for example, even the Miyoo got warm too, but because of the design of the device, you can't really feel it in your hands, right? Because the processor is back here. Where right here on this device, the processor is like somewhere here in the middle. So when you hold it, you're going to feel a little bit more warmth than something like this, obviously. I think the software is pretty good. The software really does look like Onion inside with a few quirks here and there. You know, definitely not all the functionality of Onion and the performance of Onion, but I think what we got here so far is pretty good. I genuinely like the software. The controls, the only thing I don't like about the controls is it's kind of nitpicky, but I wish the start button was up top because that's kind of weird. That's opposite. Not really much else besides obviously the biggest con of this device I think is actually the screen. I mean, it's definitely adequate for indoor play, but still it's like, damn, I wish it was a little bit brighter. Nonetheless, I do like the device a lot and I'm kind of happy. I'm very happy I purchased it. I don't think anything else here is bad. You know, I know for sure there's Onion is coming to this thing, so I'm not really too worried about the performance. I think the performance is actually good for what it is out the box. I think that with Onion, we'll be able to see even better performance, you know, when they start optimizing the chip and, you know, getting all those like unnecessary Miyoo stock things out of the way. But yeah, despite its flaws, I actually really like this thing. And you guys let me know if you guys want a setup guide to swap your SD card, as I've already done. I can put up the files and stuff that Miyoo has minus the ROMs, and you guys can use that and just copy paste it to your SD if you want. But yeah, it's gonna bring us to the end of the video. I think this thing has a lot of potential. I like the package here versus the 28XX. You actually get usable controls. You get a joystick. You know, I like that it has the bigger shoulder buttons. It has Wi-Fi. It comes in a beautiful case. And of course, we're gonna get Onion at some point. So, but yeah, guys, I'm super excited for the future of this device. And that's it for me. You made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Javi, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.